Hello, this is Lulucore, and this is my video submission for HDQ 2019 for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 80% speedrun race with Will Song 19 and Mr. Pop 1. And the estimated time for this run is about 40 minutes. So one thing you're gonna notice right here is that I didn't start a timer yet, and it is because as a community we decided that we should start a timer on the first movement, since the initial cutscene is not always the same speed, and it's also very different for Switch and Wii U, so we decided to neutralize that and start on first movement. But for races, we do however start on selecting the new file. So I'm gonna go ahead a little bit and explain the very first thing I'm gonna see in the very first room of the game also, I should say. And this is called the scope clipping, which is what the name actually says it is. Using the scope to clip through walls that are thin enough, obviously. And the reason why it works is because when you pull the scope, it pushes Link behind the camera, and it tries to put Link in a safe place. But if there's no safe place when you're standing on like a very tight spot, it's gonna push Link out of bound. We had like a very different method using wooden boxes, which are in the other room before, but that was super slow and no one liked it. And when someone figured out that we could clip in this very room, we were all super happy. Well, yeah, I'm gonna pull the Sheikah slate here first, so I can get rid of the first time use little cutscene, which makes this trick working. And now we just have to make our way out of this, I would say, room, out of bound room, which is not too hard. And luckily for us, it's almost right next to the clipping spot. So a lot of things changed on Plateau since the last time Breath of the Wild was on GDQ. The whole route used to get Tower, go to Mangesis, then Crownis, Stasis, and the Bomb Shrine. But now we are completely skipping the Tower. We are going to Stasis, Crownis, Mangesis, and we are finishing with Bombs. And the very reason why is because we figured out a way to actually clip into the shrines without even having to activate the Tower. And I'll explain that a little bit. But first thing first, we need to grab a shield, an axe, a bow, and some arrows to be able to go through Plateau still.
Link, dirige-toi vers le lieu que t'indique la carte de la tablette Sheikah.
So we do have to go through this snowy area, which we take half of a heart of damage at about every 10 seconds. So it is doable to go through it without eating at all, but you really need to be cautious about the next Pokemon camp that we're gonna have to go through to get our bow and some arrows. Those Pokemon can actually literally just kill you straight up, but with some good movement usually they won't spot you. So again, I'm gonna go a little bit ahead and start explaining why we can skip the tower, and it is because of a trick called skew clipping. And this trick is basically you have to jump with your shield on the slopes and idly like land on the slope. And the very next step after that is to actually get on a wall and shield jump forward. And that wall has to be at the same direction that you set the skew. And if done well, you should be able to clip through the walls. If you were wondering why we're not using the scope clipping method here, is because first, the walls are not thin enough, and the scope will always put you in a safer place than the out of bound. But yeah, if done well, you should be able to clip pretty easily. Sadly, nothing much changed in the shrines. It's just better movement from the runners overall, and yeah. In some of the shrines we could technically skip the runes, But the monk at the end tells you to actually go get the rune back. So skipping any of the runes is actually impossible if we have to do the shrines. One thing to notice in this shrine is that the moving platform start a cycle as soon as the cutscene of going down by the elevator actually starts. So skipping the cutscene and actually reaching the pedestal to get a rune as fast as possible make this cycle possible to do. And a shield jump over the gap. And the shrine's already over. So now we did skip the tower. So what's gonna happen when we are going up the shrine? The old man's gonna come talk to us, like it was the second time that we did, like that we're talking to him. Like he's gonna basically tell you to go do more shrines if you wanna get the glider, etc, etc. And this lead to a somewhat funny cutscene, because if you remember well, during the cutscene, they're showing the Great Plateau Tower. But yeah, skipping the tower actually made history in Breath of the Wild. It's the first sequence break really that we have in this game, because overall the game is super hard to actually like. The game doesn't make it easy to actually skip stuff. There's a lot of check, and it is super hard, and we're so super lucky that just clipping inside of a shrine actually makes tower skip viable. Sadly, there's still no plateau skip, and from what we know, there's probably won't be one, sadly. Anyway, here we are using the boulder to actually reach the peak of this cliff faster by just propulsing ourselves with it, riding the upward momentum as we jump. And now this is when things get also even more interesting. What I'm about to perform here is called a bullet time bounce. So basically we are baiting those bokoblins at a perfect spot, and as we pull the bow to go in bullet time mode and land on a shield on a bokoblin, we just get like a lot of momentum, and we can actually reach super far and even further with the glider. So the reason why this trick works actually is because when you go in bullet time, everything is slowed down, but not really everything. The knockback that we get from this bokoblin isn't exactly slowed down, but when we go back to normal speed, the game still tries to convert that speed. And well, it does convert that speed, but by 20 times, like 20. So we do get a lot of momentum from those, and this very trick did change how we travel in Breath of the Wild. This is the fastest way known to actually move around, and all you need is be able to go in bullet time, which requires at least one arrow and one bow in your inventory, and a shield. So Kranich Shrine is basically again the same thing. It's just better movement from the runners, and we're just doing it casually fast. There's actually a way to clip through the walls now with skew, but it's not exactly RTA viable. There's a lot of new strats for the shrines now with in the overworld and on plateau that uses like those clips, but sometimes in the RTA context it's not that viable, sadly. And here, like the boulder, we did use the Kranich pillar momentum to go higher on the second floor faster, and yeah, the shrine's already over. Also, luckily, I didn't mention that, but when you exit the shrine, luckily you don't get stuck behind the door that you didn't open at first. And for anyone that wasn't really aware of this, when you don't activate tower, you cannot activate the shrine pedestals outside. So this is why we do have to clip in every single shrine. So here we're gonna perform this again, bullet time bounce. It is also known as a BTB for short among runners, and that's probably one of the most annoying to do on plateau. Here I didn't get the perfect BTB, quote unquote. I did get a lot of distance, but a good BTB would usually go all the way to the Mangesa's shrine. Here I kind of fell short. I had to stop my my flying session a little bit early, but it is nothing too bad unless you're chasing for world record, I would say. Also, to land, I forget to explain that, but to land, when we land, and we need to not take damage, obviously, otherwise we're gonna die. And so we perform what it is called a fall damage cancel, and this is easily done by just canceling a throw while you're mid-air by either equipping or unequipping another weapon or your shield. It kind of just resets Link position when he's in the air, so the game thinks it's not falling as high. Also, with a good bullet time bounce to this shrine, sometimes it gets unloaded, so we do not even have to do the clip. The front door is literally unloaded, so you can just walk in and go down the elevator. It does save a little bit of time, but again, pretty straightforward shrine. The only thing to worry about is actually to not get sniped by the Guardian while you're doing a shield jump. Because otherwise you fall in the water and it loses a bunch of time. And here we're just gonna use Link's physics to push the Brock. I guess it's one thing worth mentioning, but when you use a rune, Link's becomes much heavier than he actually is. So he can move objects with his own body. Alright, so there's a third BTB on Plateau, and this is probably one of the most frustrating to perform because not only you have to worried about the trick and your positioning and everything like the other BTBs, but you also have to worry about one Pokemon that tries to actually shoots arrow at you, one that throws barrels and rocks at you, and even the one that you have to jump on sometimes doesn't want to cooperate. But there's ways to make it somewhat consistent, but there's always this little RNG element. And here in this video that I decided to submit, I actually failed the trick a few times, and I just basically want to show that even if you fail this trick, it is not too big of a time loss. It is a time loss, but it is still possible to finish this run within like 40 minutes even with failed tricks. But yeah, here I did get a lot of height from the buckle, but I went a little bit too much on the left and I would have fell off plateau, and falling off plateau isn't an option. But yeah, I do have every time to come back here, do that small ride with the metal plank. And every time here I do have to take in consideration the backup lens. See here, I could have gotten snipe, I could have hit the barrel. It did look good here at first, but I think I unequipped the shield a little bit too soon and I missed a cliff. So one thing worth mentioning, I guess, by while I'm waiting here is those loading times here that we see are usually 1 or 2 seconds faster on Wii U compared to Switch. And this is one of the main reasons why most of the top runners for 80% plays on Wii U. It is because it does save a lot of times for 80%. Alright. He did get a good BTB. A very good one would be like spot on the shrine. And again, we're gonna perform the skew clipping one last time. Getting back in bound here can be a little bit tricky, but not too hard. One thing I didn't mention is every time you land on your shield, if you have let me restart here. If you have the skew glitch and you happen to bonk or land on your shield, you actually do lose the glitch. So it is important to never land on your shield while you're performing this trick. So again, like all the other shrines, there's nothing new in here. It's just movement. Again, there's an extra cycle skip that you can do, but if you're like a little bit too slow, sometimes just not worth the risk. It does save about 3 seconds, but if you misses it, you lose about 11. Yeah, it did fall, but it didn't really matter much. Here we can just throw the bomb like on the right spot and should destroy the blocks that we need to clear the path. And we're basically done with Plateau. All we have to do now is actually to go get the paraglider and then go straight to Castle. There's a lot of things now that I just think when I'm watching this, but we do wait that cutscene here because it makes this very loading by 5 seconds like faster, and it was a trick figured out by Orchestra herself. Okay, so here we're just gonna destroy the wall, and we're gonna also use a second bomb to trigger the Guardian. By doing so, you don't trigger the cutscene around the Guardian, which is like another 5 seconds saved. So for later in the run, we do need to make a attack potion to be able to fight the bosses. And to make potions, we do need a beetle. And this beetle spawn is dynamic, so it's never in the same tree, but so you do have to look a little bit for it, and you also need to not scare it up, because otherwise you need to reload and actually look for it again. It would do a rocket launch all the way to Temple of Time. I did miss the angle, so I had to fall damage cancel to save my ass. But done well, it should land on the roof. It is somewhat important to not have to not whistle, because the Buckable down Temple of Time is gonna hear you, and it's gonna change movement. So now we're just getting the paraglider, talking to the old man, skipping all the cutscenes. a very good plateau usually would be between 16 minutes and 17, and the very very good plateaus are like 15 minutes. But yeah, now we do have the paraglider, and we're gonna use it obviously now that we have this precious item, but we're also gonna be able to use it by using the momentum of the bullet time bounces. And here you're gonna see what's happening when you use that momentum with the paraglider. So it is important to pull the bow very like at the last moment possible here to preserve stamina. But yeah, you can use that momentum to go super far. A good BTB would actually reach a dining hall, but for this one I did waste a little bit of stamina, so sadly I'm not exactly reaching where I want to be, but I do still reach castle. Here we do have one of those freaky loading that makes everyone panics, because it is possible to soft lock over Castle Town. So here I barely made it, but you should be able to make it to the other floors with enough stamina. Also, usually when you reach Castle, there's a cutscene that plays, and it's like Ganon being Superman and everything. But when you go fast enough, things tend to not load sometimes, such as this cutscene that is super delayed. And sometimes even texture will not even be loaded. So sometimes Castle really looks super weird. But yeah, a good BTB would have made me reach that part. So the first boxes that we're gonna break usually has a RNG arrow drop. Here I got a very good one. I got 15 arrows total, and among those 15 arrows there's 5 more arrows, which is the best arrows you need. Usually here in a race you would safety save, because the drop from this crate is also RNG and you need at least 1 banana. Here I got 2, I got very lucky. So now we have to make our way into the room called the dining hall. And we're gonna start farming weapons to be able to fight the bosses. A Guardian spotted me, but it's not really a big deal. I just took splash damage. So first off, we pick up a royal bow, 1 more banana, a Molduguffin, and I'm making sure to not whistle sprint, because I don't want the other 2 moblins on the other side of the room to hear me. So I use the throw button and I'm mashing sprint at the same time. So it's kind of the same as whistle sprint, but it's not as effective. So here we want to cook our potion already, and for that we need to bait those moblins into doing something else. So by throwing a bomb they start playing soccer. And so I can lit the campfire safely and cook while they're being distracted. Now all I have to do is sneak strike that guy so he can drop his weapon that I need. And now I can go farm the other weapons. We don't need to have full our inventory, luckily. We used to do that in the very old routes. But we also didn't have a +3 potion attack. We were dealing with like +1 and +2. But we also had way more consistent arrows. Here, another sneak strike while he's being super blind. If the moblin starts looking around, usually they won't ever see you. So here, more arrows that can be super RNG. But I did get again a very good drop. That was a lot of arrows. I was quite happy with that. So now we're making our way to the library. I didn't heal here because sometimes that Lizalfos can snap you with his tongue, and it's just gonna kill me at this point because I don't have the one-shot protection. So I'm just making my way through a horde of Lizalfos. And luckily for me, they're just super blind. Sneak strike that guy. You steal his boomerang. And now we're performing again a elevator launch. It's kind of the same thing as the boulder launch that we did earlier, but it's with a crate. I didn't fail it here. I'm still not sure why. I did die from that fall. But it is whatever. The autosave is at the very beginning of the room, so it's not too bad. Only thing though is when you reload here, the very first Lizalfos actually sees you every time, so you have to dodge his arrows. But this one still has the same pattern, so it's fine. So again, I'm going for the elevator launch. This time I get it. And now we're already at Sanctum. So, this is what makes any percent very interesting compared to like some of the runs of this game. I should say some other categories of this game. It's basically a boss rush of the game. You have to fight Wind Blight, Water Blight, Fire Blight, Thunder Blight, Calamity in one go. If you die at any point during this fight, you have to do the whole thing all over again. Here I got a good pattern. Wind Blight spawned right next to me. You can't spawn all the way across the room or even like in the middle, but when he spawns super close to you, usually he's gonna spawn much faster. I made sure to drink my potion too, so I don't even before like the first hit of the sword, just so I don't waste time at all on it. But yeah, those fights can be done pretty quick, especially with the number of arrows that I got. Most phases can be one cycle now. For Water Blight, you want to break the spear here and actually try to get a little bit more damage, but he started attacking really quick, so I couldn't even reach him at all. Technically, you could one cycle this without having to do the extra hits after the spins, but it is kind of hard to do. Water Blight's again face, he goes on the ceiling, so somehow he looks more menacing, but not really. So we have to bring him down. And 2 quick headshots should do the trick. And now for Fire Blight, one thing you have, a lot of people don't see, but we do start walking during when the game fades back in, and pull the boulder breaker early too, so we can have the time to actually attack him without him even having a chance. There isn't much RNG during the Blight rush, except spawns point. Sometimes Fire Blight and Water Blight will have very weird pattern where they would get up after going down. Like they will get up really quick, but they shouldn't be messing with runs. Hey, we do have a new strats. It does say it's about 12 seconds doing the fights this way compared to the older way. Thunder Blight is a little bit more trickier than the other Blights. We do have to make sure his shield breaks at a certain time, so we can actually have another shield break, another convenient time to make a cycle faster. And by just throwing the boomerang, we can actually destroy the shield. I was looking a little bit for my boomerang because the bounce wasn't the same as usual. But yeah, this is the shield break that I was talking about. By shield breaking this right here, we can actually finish this phase quicker. And now Calamity. This is probably where most people actually tend to die or to rage quit on the game. Because Calamity is RNG heavy. There is not one single fight that's gonna be the same bait. I did get a lot of arrows, so I don't have to worry too much about phase 1. I just need to make sure I do get enough damage on him. Yeah, I did collect a Royal Broadsword, more bomb arrows, and 1 claymore. When Calamity goes on the wall like that, it requires 3 hits to bring him down. Bomb arrow do count as 2 hits because of the arrow itself and then the explosion. So usually 2 bomb arrows should do the trick, or 1 bomb arrows and another any type of arrows. But if you don't have bomb arrows, then you are required to hit him 3 times to get him off the wall. One difference between the Royal Bow and the Royal Guard Bow is the speed that you can shoot arrows. I didn't miss a couple of arrows while he's on the wall because of that, but it shouldn't be like too big of a time loss. Headshots obviously do more damage to him, so you want to get as many as possible. Now on phase 2, there's a few patterns you can do, like this swing right here where you have to dodge it. You can do a laser like that first, like on first try, or you can go on the wall. Here I did get the parry on the laser, and as you can see there was no slow mode. It's because I did crouch as I was parrying, so it did cancel the animation, like the slow mo animation. You can also cancel it by jumping, but it's kind of slow. Here, this is what probably one of the few very first thing that any person discovered. It's called the stun lock. It's basically releasing a weapon. It's basically spinning on Calamity, getting enough hits, and as he tips his head up, you want to release the spin, and so he's going back down, and yeah, you can just one cycle this boss. So we made it through pretty easily here, and we are at Dog Beast, which is just a target practice, basically. It's super hard to die, but even if you die on this boss, you don't even have to restart the boss rush. You restart at the beginning of this. So at this point, it's pretty much run over. You just need to make sure to hit the light circles. I do really hope that any percent is gonna get into GDQ this year. I think the run really changed like enough, and it is way more interesting. And if it's not any percent, I hope it's any of the other categories that's gonna be submitted, because I'll be honest with you, Breath of the Wild got kind of crazy by the end of 2018. A lot of things changed, and it would be great to see Breath of the Wild again. It is an amazing game, and yeah, I didn't hope that this submission video was good enough. It took me a few attempts to even reach, like, to get past the first shrine. I did get mixed up here for whatever reason. I was so like happy to actually finish this run, and I got trolled. I was way too close. I couldn't even hit the circle there. This just shows how bad the hitbox is for this. Anyway, I'll just let the video finish because there isn't much to say. Timing ends when you shoot the eye, and that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching this submission, and really hope to see Breath of the Wild at GDQ. Thank you.